This is Krovan back with Trisbic once again for the R0NIN versus Circle of Two. The R0NIN have brought 2 Tengu, 2 Proteus, Damnation, Guardian, 2 Catalysts, and 2 Thrashers.
Circle of Two have 2 Abaddons, a Damnation, 2 Hurricanes, a Guardian, 2 Sabers, and 2 Thrashers.
In both of these teams have had very impressive showings thus far. Circle of Two on no losses, the R0NIN on 1 loss to the Blanket Men, but they took out AAA, who I had personally picked to go very far, and actually they were my pick to win it at one point. Obviously no longer my pick to win it, but R0NIN with a very good showing. We have the 10-second countdown in local. We are just about ready to go, and we will see how this one shapes up.
Yeah, before we wait for this countdown, I just say the Circle of Two team, very strong showing. They haven't been up against the hardest teams, but you know they're coming into this 3-0, so this will definitely be one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're seeing now some damage on the 2 Proteuses of the R0NIN and on the Abaddon of Circle of Two. And let's see here. I've actually lost all of my locks. Thank you, CCP Claw.
Yes, the Circle of Two Abaddon now dipping into armor, as is one of the Proteuses for the R0NIN. Fire looks pretty split across the R0NIN team. Some of the Destroyers taking damage, 2 of the Proteuses. That Abaddon still holding on at high armor. Yeah, it's hard to see exactly what's going on when we can't manipulate the camera over here.
Yeah,
Krovan trying to fix
I'm
that
working on it. I'm working on
over
it.
here.
I'm dyslexic on the internets.
That Proteus at half armor, it looks like it's going to go down before that Abaddon, which is still holding on as we lose one of the Sabers for the Circle of Two team. So I'd imagine the fire has shifted off of the R0NIN team, going after those destroyer-hulled ships, which they know they can take down.
Okay, here we go. We've got locks back. So the Proteus now is below half armor. You know, we've been talking about the impressive buffer tank, but doesn't amount for much when you've got 2 Hurricanes riding up your tailpipe, as is happening right here. Autocannons ablazing and target painters applied as that Proteus continuing to drop, albeit kind of slowly at this point. They have managed to slow down some of that damage now.
Yeah, that Saber for Circle of Two running around very quickly, not taking very much damage right now, while CO2 really focusing on that Proteus. It's now at about a 1/3 armor.
Yeah, and he's dropping. He's down to about 25% at this point. One of those Hurricanes, meanwhile, for Circle of Two, also in pretty deep armor. He's at about he's probably got about 25% left as well, as we're seeing that Proteus for R0NIN continuing to drop. I tell you what, this one is going to be close. I can already tell at this point. There may be a breaking point, but at this point this is absolutely anybody's match. Both teams have close range, high damage setups, and are just right on top of each other, blazing away with everything they've got.
Yeah, I really like watching Hurricanes shoot at things. That new autocannon effect is very impressive.
It's very nice.
It's nice. I like it.
So, but yeah, no, that Hurricane's still firing. Looks like still firing on that Proteus, but he has been webbed. So the Proteus may be opening up a little bit of range there, still dropping. But now the Hurricane is actually taking damage faster than the Proteus is, already into structure, and while the Proteus is still managing to hold on to just a tiny, tiny bit of armor now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with those destroyer-hulled ships also. Ingnan for Circle of Two got back a little bit of shield. Now he's getting shot at again. One of the R0NIN catalysts into deep armor and structure damage.
Apparently, their Guardian's doing at least an adequate job of panicking and hitting the buttons fast enough. Actually, he's probably remaining pretty calm based on the fact that, well, now downwind is Proteus, so maybe I spoke a little bit too soon.
Yeah, so that may be something of a turning point. I mean, it's obviously not going to blow the match wide open.
Because the Hurricane went down at just about the same moment. So, you know, both teams losing a pretty decent damage ship at about the same time. You know, a Proteus, while it's capable of quite a bit of damage, isn't just an absolute face melter that you could see out of something like an Astarte or something along those lines, but capable of taking quite a bit of damage. You know, where you could kill 2 or 3 other ships, you get to kill 1 Proteus effectively. And we're seeing a lot of damage still flying around on these smaller ships, but a lot of the destroyers on the field in structure at this point, but still managing to hang in there.
Yeah, I think one nice thing about the teams that bring a lot of destroyers and end up against a lot of other destroyer hull ships is you get a fight within a fight where those destroyers go after each other, and it's really something completely separate from the rest of the ships. That's nice to watch.
Yeah, no, I think destroyers are great in this tournament, and now we have one fewer to admire in this match now, and now one more down. So, but in the meantime, what I'm trying to actually get to is that Tulok in this Guardian for the R0NIN is now taking the bulk of the fire. He's below 50% armor, approaching 25% rather quickly. He does have bots on him, but he also has a number of looks like hostile drones, target painting, all sorts of things just beating down on him at the moment, and his tank is just not holding up.
Yeah, they're really going after him with everything now. Those Abaddons firing, the Hurricane's still in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's still quite a bit of damage out there, and you know, while the Guardian was doing a good job keeping the little ships up, there obviously wasn't enough there to keep the Proteus up. So I'm wondering if once again we're seeing some, a little bit of repping on there for the sake of keeping those small ships with the utility in there, but counting on the fact that there'll be a huge target, painted right on their head, and letting the team spend some time beating them down while you take out some of their DPS, because this Guardian is taking a while to kill, all things considered.
Yeah, given how much was coming at him, that was definitely a good record of not dying.
Yeah, well, and meanwhile, Circle of Two's Guardian pilot is not having nearly as much luck. He became the primary and is just getting absolutely melted out there. Looks like, let's see, yeah, there's a Proteus right on top of him at this point, which is never good for your health, and also some incoming missile fire as well.
Yeah, one of the second Proteus rather for the R0NIN team now under fire from Circle of Two. He is into armor. It's dropping pretty quickly. It seems like that Guardian was something of a linchpin for this team.
Yeah, and if that's the case, as that Guardian goes down, and I think we lost another destroyer in there as well, if that's the case, it may be that the loss of the Guardian might be a bigger deal to Circle of Two than it was to the R0NIN. But now we're seeing Slayer CZ and the remaining Proteus for the R0NIN approaching 50% armor rather quickly. Meanwhile, one of those Circle of Two Hurricanes starting to take damage, and his armor loss is catching up to the Proteus at this point.
Yeah, the Circle of Two team still has 2 Thrashers left, so they will come in and add some of their DPS, which is, as we've been discussing pretty much this entire tournament time, it's nothing to scoff at, even from such a small ship.
Well, not for 2 points, certainly. And now we are seeing those, those Thrashers are holding on a little bit of the periphery. They have decent range, but meanwhile this Hurricane and this Proteus neck and neck as far as who's losing armor the fastest. It looks like the Hurricane's losing it a little bit faster. That Proteus does have, or at least, yeah, he still has armor bots on him as the Hurricane goes boom, and the Proteus goes from no armor to no ship. And we'll be spending the rest of the match watching from his pod now, as you've got the Damnation and a pair of Tengus versus 2 Abaddon's Damnation and a couple of Thrashers for Circle of Two.
Yeah, let me see how far out these Tengus are. This may be another match where it's just a matter of chasing down those remaining ships.
They don't seem to be too far out, and actually the one of the Tengus now is passing near the Damnation for Circle of Two, but they don't seem too concerned with him. They actually appear to be shooting the other one, so let's see where he's gone off to. Both Tengus are moving out from the center of the arena, but they're only about 40 kilometers out from the beacon at this point, so they're, they've got a ways to run if they're going to try to get away from the damage here.
Yeah, those last R0NIN ships going after the remaining Thrashers for Circle of Two.
Yeah, and not a bad decision, honestly, because with those Abaddons there, and if the Tengus are able to hold range against these slower ships, the Damnation and the 2 Abaddons, it may end up coming down to points. And obviously taking out those Thrashers is not only going to keep you from getting tackled, but is going to give you a few more points. They're probably oh no, actually, you know what? If they kill this Thrasher... No, they will be losing on points. They'll still be losing on points because of the cost of a battleship. So they'll have to take out an Abaddon, most likely, in order to pull ahead on points again, but not out of the realm of possibility based on what we've seen Tengus doing. But at the same time, their Damnation's taking to fire. Yep,
their Damnation now going into half armor. The Thrasher, there's one remaining Thrasher for the Circle of Two team, which is sitting at about 3/4 structure, but it looks like he's gaining back some shield hit points, so I don't know if he managed to outrange whatever missiles were coming at him, or what the story is there.
Well, he's definitely outranged me. I can't look at him anymore, so I think maybe he has cleared out a little bit. Let's see if we can zoom out and see where he's gone. Yeah, he is out on the periphery right now.
That R0NIN team focusing now again on Joshimo and the Abaddon for Circle of Two, the ship that was taking all of their fire at the very beginning of the match. But that Damnation definitely losing hit points faster than the Abaddon.
Yeah, and I mean, the Tengus are going to be able to hold range, most likely. That Thrasher's kind of trying to stay alive, so unless he can ninja his way up to one of those Tengus and tackle him, he's probably either going to die or remain irrelevant to the rest of the fight. But once this Damnation goes down, especially on terms of points, that's a real big break in favor of Circle of Two. And, I mean, obviously, the R0NIN, you know, I expected, yet another team I expected to potentially go to the finals is being knocked out here. So, well, is on their way to being knocked out unless something incredibly dramatic happens. But at the same time, as now we're seeing that Damnation into structure. Thrasher, though, got volleyed into non-existence, perhaps ran out of the arena. But no, he was well within the arena.
Yep, that Damnation for R0NIN now down. While that Abaddon's still sitting about half armor, looks like he may have just repped up a little bit too, so
yeah,
they may be running local tanks on them.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Maybe I don't see any drones around him, but let's peek in a little bit closer and see. Actually, yeah, I'm not seeing any local reps running. I'm actually not seeing any hardeners running either at the moment, unless there's something wrong with what I'm looking at here. Official time remaining about 4.5 minutes, though. Maybe enough to get through this Abaddon. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that would mean R0NIN were still losing on points, even if they managed to drop this Abaddon.
Yeah, I'm not entirely positive about what the point layout would be at that point, but this Tengu taking some shield damage now. Looks like the Abaddons have gotten in range. They've switched over to high damage crystals.
Yeah, you know, the Tengu is in a little bit of trouble, but at the same time, so is the Abaddon, or so is one of those Abaddons. So if they manage to drop him quick enough, they'll be able to keep up. But it doesn't look like they're going with the tactic that we've seen Tengus pulling earlier, which is getting as much range as possible, though they seem to have a lot of the same subsystems here. I'm not as familiar with the Caldari ones, admittedly, but you'd think they would be able to pull a little bit more range and get out of range of those lasers.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe they were switching damage types to see which had the least resistances on this Abaddon, but the damage seems to have ramped up considerably from those last two Tengus.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but maybe it's just a question of they don't have to. Maybe they were shooting at the Thrasher while he was running around, and he was managing to avoid their damage, or something along the lines of that. So we're looking at, actually no, now we're seeing Terror Rage assault missiles flying. I think that answers your question. So we've got assault missiles now hitting this Abaddon. So little ham Tengu action.
Yeah, not just assaults, but the damage Tech 2 missiles flying into that Abaddon. That Tengu sitting at about a third shields, but I have a feeling that Abaddon's going to be going down first.
I think that's probably a safe assumption at this point. Abaddon completely out of armor. They've beaten through that substantial buffer tank. He'll probably have a damage control on, but at the same point, there's only so many structure hit points, even on a ship like that. Though the damage seems to have really... Okay, here we go. The damage is picking up again. Somebody was probably reloading. And meanwhile, that Tengu's sitting at about 20% shields at this point.
Also worth noting, these Tengus now doing about 1.3 kilometers a second, which is certainly not helping them in terms of getting tracked by the Abaddon, even as the Circle of Two Damnation is target painting them.
Yeah, you know, that speed is going to be a factor, especially when you're dealing with turret ships, as that Abaddon goes down. So we've got about 2/3 of a Tengu, as well as a full Tengu versus an Abaddon and a Damnation. This one is not over. As we've seen in the past, we've seen Tengus do amazing things against short-range opponents. Now, obviously, these Tengus are going to be shorter-ranged as well, but if they're able to take out either of these ships without losing one of these Tengus, they'll win the match.
Yeah, I say, now seeing the DPS that those Tech 2 ham Tengus are capable of, this could very well go back and end up in the Ronin's hands.
Let me tell you, I think we may have been a little bit too soon to count the R0NIN out here. That first Tengu, he's still taking a bit of damage. He's hovering at about 50% shield. The Damnation now almost entirely out of shield, and it's going to be curious. I'm a little bit curious to see, you know, what kind of buffer tank he's got. And now we've got word from CCP Claw in local that there's just under 1 minute remaining in the match, and you know, I don't know that they've got enough damage here to take out this Damnation in 1 minute. It would be a hell of a thing if they could, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yes, that would definitely be something to see. I don't know the exact ranges right now, but the Tengus seem to have taken off a little bit. No, they're back in close now. I was thinking maybe they had to switch over to precision heavy assaults to get that range. Yeah, this one looks like it may be going to time, which is a little bit of a shame because it got to be a little bit of a nail biter here at the end.
Well, you know, and if we let it go all the way out, it would be very interesting to see who would come out on top. I think if we had an unlimited amount of time, it would go to the R0NIN. Unfortunately, we have Stop in local from CCP Claw. He calls the match for Circle of Two, 68 to 66, a 2-point difference, and the R0NIN, favored by some to go all the way, are out to a very, very strong showing by Circle of Two, who will be moving on to the round of 8.
A very, very close match, probably one of the closest we've seen so far, and very, very tough to call. I wouldn't have liked to have made that choice. Absolutely brilliant. Guys, what do you think of the morning so far?
Awesome.
It's been pretty awesome.
It's been pretty awesome.
Very impressive.
We had, you know, Ham Tengu slugfest in the middle of the arena. 5 bombs coming from the Pandemic Legion team at the opening of the match. Some really close calls, and it's just been awesome. It's been everything the Alliance tournament should be. And
if you've just tuned in, welcome to the Alliance tournament. I'm Stevie SG, and this is the commentary booth. And I have some questions from the forums. This one's from Quivering Palm from Split Infinity Radio. Hey, Quivering. He wants to know about the use of E-War drones. Do you consider them over or underrated in TQ? And why aren't they not being fielded in the tourney?
I think in terms of PvP in the wild on TQ, they're underrated in situations. ECM drones are very situational because you have some ships where losing the DPS of your drones is the difference between winning and losing a fight. And then there's other ships, I mean, things like Vagabonds, where a flight of ECM drones dramatically expands what you can safely engage out in TQ.
Yep.
Agreed. Now, I do like flying with ECM drones. I fly a lot of Brutixes, and ECM drones are a nice complement to that. It is a significant drop of damage, but at the same time, the ability to not get shot at is never something to discount in a fight.
Indeed. Well, before I hand it straight back to the studio, I think I should tell you guys we've broken 10,000 viewers, which is absolutely amazing. And for everyone watching, thank you very much for tuning in. And with that, I think I'll pass it back to Samri.
This is what